Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur, Shamil. Domestic politics and internal situation of a country has a lot to do with its foreign policy. Talking about Indian atrocities in Indian-held Kashmir, many innocent people, innocent children, women, men have lost their lives, and still the Kashmiris are struggling for their rights in Kashmir. Ambulances have been attacked. Pellet guns have been used against the Kashmiris who want liberation from India, who are striving for freedom, and many have lost their lives. Many innocent people, as I earlier said, have lost their lives. At the same time, we don't see the international community taking any strong stance on the human rights violations in Kashmir. Pakistan stands with the people of Kashmir, and Pakistan supports the Kashmir cause. And now moving on towards other parts of India. As I was saying, that the domestic politics has a lot to do with a country's foreign policy. What is going on in Kashmir is nothing new. And now we see that the Hindutva mindset is spreading elsewhere in other parts of the country. In Rajasthan, a couple of days back, people were killed for transporting cows from one place to another. People are being killed for eating beef. And this is going on everywhere in India. People are being killed. Muslims are attacked by the Hindutva mindset people with extremist ideas inside India. Muslims are attacked, Sikhs are attacked, Christians are attacked by the RSS members of BJP, members of Shiv Sena, and this has now become a norm. Another person, an individual who was considered to be an extremist earlier is now the Chief Minister of India's largest state, and Adityanath Yogi is the Chief Minister. He's an extremist, and that is there on the international media as well. So this politics, the internal politics of India, certainly has an impact on its foreign policy. Pakistan has been fighting extremism and terrorism. Pakistan has eliminated one of the most notorious groups from the region. Pakistan has eliminated many notorious individuals who were involved in terrorist attacks. Pakistan now is a much peaceful place now. Pakistan has striving for peace in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and in India as well. Pakistan wants peace in the region, and that is why the Prime Minister's advisor on foreign affairs, Mrs. Athar Aziz, went to Amritsar to attend the Heart of Asia conference to discuss Afghanistan in India. And this is Pakistan's way of showing the regional powers and the international community that Pakistan is striving for peace and stability, whereas we see that the rising Hindutva mindset, rising religious extremism in India is having an impact on India's foreign policy. If Pakistan wants peace, would India come on the table with Pakistan to discuss peace in the region? We'll discuss about this with our guest today. And let me introduce them. Our first guest is Mr. Rana Athar Javed. He's a senior analyst and an expert on the regional politics. Welcome to the program, Rana sir. Our second guest is Ambassador Shahid Kiani. He is a senior diplomat and he is an expert on Pakistan's foreign policy. Welcome to the program, Ambassador Sahab. Our third guest is Mr. Jan Atzekzai. He's a politician from PMLN and he's also an expert on regional politics and he's a defense analyst as well. Welcome to the program, Jan sir. Starting with the domestic politics, as I earlier said, that domestic politics has a lot to do with a country's foreign policy. Indian-held Kashmir, atrocities over there, what is happening in Rajasthan at the moment, minorities being attacked by the RSS members, by the Shiv Sena members, and now we also see that many of those members of Shiv Sena and RSS are now becoming politicians. They are elected members of Indian Parliament. How do you see India and the rising extremism in India?
Thank you very much. I think let's call not India, maybe we'll call it more Hindustan, because that's what Yogi has formulated his policy in Uttar Pradesh. And if we really separate the issue of what's happening to Muslims and what's they are trying to change their religious rituals, lifestyle, eating habits even. So if we put this thing aside, we look as a overall what actually India intends to do with their population, the democratic so-called democracy of the world. There are three very important factors which are really obvious. One is they have decided that the minorities would be crushed, whether through implementing a law or introducing some brutal measures through RSS hooligans, we call them the terrorists, or they will go through the parliament because of the majority, and they are creating small children under 15. They have developed literally schools, RSS and this Hindu Athar, those schools which they are being trained using knives, weapons, swords, and all kind of very lethal weapons. And this has been the case. And their main objective, what Yogi didn't mince his word to say, is that India, we will cleanse India with by all kind of non-Hindu entities. So we should not only emphasize on the fact that we do highlight the plight of the Muslims, the Kashmiris, which have been there, and international community is not sleeping. I'm sure they are watching. They are sleeping on their actions. They are silent. But it is also very encouraging that very recently, yesterday only, that the President Trump, his State Department, they have issued that they are ready to facilitate on which Pakistan said yes and India again said capital no. So this is the issue. We should look as an overall that what is the plan? Is there a plan in the region that they are going to keep only Hindus and ethnic cleanse all other minorities, including Christian, Dalits, and everybody?
And the situation is pretty volatile and precarious in India. Ambassador Saab, you're an ambassador, you're a diplomat. Domestic politics and its impact on foreign policy. Many people see Aditya Nath Yogi's rise not as a surprise for many experts. People say that if an individual in India who was accused of many crimes can become, let's say, a prime minister, then Aditya Nath Yogi can also become a chief minister. And many other people like Aditya Nath Yogi can come in politics and they can rule the country and be hard on the minorities. What is going to be the impact of this domestic politics in India on its foreign policy?
The thing is, as you said, that they decided, the people of India elected Modi as their prime minister. I think I'm nobody to question if tomorrow Mr. Yogi becomes a prime minister. That is the internal matter of India. But let me just say to you, when you talked about the intolerance, which you see on the rise in India, I'll just share with you something, go into the historical context. I'm not surprised what is happening. I'll just give you a very serious incident. In 1948, Mr. Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse. What did it signify? Do you think it was BJP at that time was in power? It was the Congress party was in power. And the prime minister was Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, a freedom stalwart and somebody who was known for his secular views. The thing is this, the land, as they say, as Mr. Rana was talking about, the Hindus, they consider that the whole of India is Hinduism. I'll again share with you the talking about RSS. I have always said here that if you want to understand India, please read about it. If you cannot visit, read. Now, Lal Krishna Advani's book, My Life, My Country, please, it is a extremely useful book to understand as to how the Indians or the Hindus, those who are highly educated and from the upper caste, they have led the way in telling the others in India that this country will remain of Hindus. Mr. Advani, who spent 20 years in Karachi, was recruited by the RSS at the age of 15, as you said rightly. So this is nothing new. They will continue.
But now at the policy making level,
no, I'll just tell you.
The Hindutva mindset at the policy making level is precarious.
only see these incidents of intolerance when the BJP comes into power. Otherwise, they remain down. They remain, subservice, dormant. The reason is most of the Hindus, a brute majority of the Hindus, are closely, tied to their religion. They understand what their caste system is. They cannot move from one caste to another. But for them, Hinduism and its attributes, are like, for example, not eating beef or doing this thing, is
at the moment it is also questioning their liberal stance, their secular India idea.
Let me say you, sir. It is these issues of beef and consider them mata and this thing are sacrosanct to them, even though There's a dichotomy. India is one of the largest exporters of beef also, but they would not like this beef to be touched or eaten
duplicity.
by duplicity.
Right.
So I'm not surprised what is happening, and I wouldn't be surprised if the things aggravates.
The journalists say the world is fighting extremism and terrorism. From US to Japan, from Pakistan, Afghanistan, all these countries are fighting extremism and terrorism. As I said, Pakistan has eliminated many notorious groups and individuals, but we see the reverse thing in India. We see rising extremism in India. What would this mean for regional peace?
Definitely the degeneration of the Indian politics into communalism, backed by its 7 average economic growth, is not something that should be taken lightly. Their recent policy, particularly reflected in their foreign policy vis-a-vis Pakistan, region and internationally, give us some takeaways. They try to browbeat any foreign policy, any neighboring country which is not in their orbit, starting from Nepal to Pakistan. Now, look at Iran. They have a recent row over gas, and they have squeezed in and tried to pressurize Iran by cutting their trade with Iran. This is another signal of how India think that as part of its foreign policy objective, it can use muscle power, not only against Pakistan, but also like a bigger neighbor like China. With China, they have got serious issues. But
that are growing every day.
That is growing. So that shows that their thinking of the elite is as if it's becoming a South Asian, economic power, and also a kind of, a superpower mentality. They have adopted it. But now the world is also changing. Now the West is also one important, regional bloc led by the United States of America. But the most important, economic and political decisions are being made in Asia. What we call it Asian century, led by China and the rest. And also now Middle East is also trying to focus here. So whatever the economic market clot is going to emerge. So any country which try to isolate through its extremist policies, particularly its domestic extremist policies, reflecting in its assertive foreign policy, would not benefit. Why I would say that? Because if India has any ambition about becoming a United Nations Security Council member, it should forget about it, because it has to establish that it has a good neighborly relations with its neighbors, that it's not a threat to its neighbors, that it's not a threat to the region and to the peace at large. So if it fails so far, it has established that it is a bully, and any country which is not comfortable with its designs, simply would not allow India to be, the member of this Security Council. And also, we have seen NSJ status is also in doldrum, because it's also threatening nuclear threatening posture with Pakistan and China and the rest of the world. Again, it has unsurmountable hurdles and difficulties. So I think if it has no regional responsible posturing towards neighbors and peace and stability in the region, India should simply forget its ambition of becoming a South Asia superpower. Forget about regional power.
So, Rana, India is certainly lacking that attitude that is required of a regional or international power. Rather, now we see, as you were saying earlier, that United States and India's other partners have realized the growing extremism in India, and they want India to mellow it down, to tone it down if it wants to have peace in the region. United States now wanting Pakistan and India to come on the table. Pakistan said yes, India said no. Do you think that now India perhaps itself is heading towards getting diplomatically isolated? Do you see it that way? Because at one point they were trying Pakistan to get diplomatically isolated.
I think actually it is quite possible. One of the reasons that we have seen during the past few weeks, India has been using the minimum credible deterrence and their cold start doctrine, trying to enhance their offensive behavior, diplomatic behavior. Therefore, they announced that there won't be any first use. No option would be, we are going to eliminate the no first use option. So this is also very big rhetoric, and also it falsifies India's capacity, because India's capacity is not exactly what India is projecting. Like India always denied that the cold start doctrine doesn't exist. But in the end, their own chief of army staff and then the new air chief actually stated in the public. Same goes for the Doval Doctrine. They always refused that we intervened and we do that. Then he admitted that he himself was operating in Lahore close to Data Gaj Bakhshajwari's tomb. And there were many other examples. So our point should be actually basically that we must look India, we must deal with India first of all. Whether India is being going to be isolated, because India's diaspora and India's market attracts the Western investment. Western countries now started understanding, and we should all emphasize on the fact that if United States and the major powers really seek to disengage themselves, detach themselves from a country or from the policies of a country, which would in the end hurting Christians, Catholics especially, they are targeting them because they are targeting for their missions. And as you know, in our country, which is a Muslim country, Pakistan has always been, the missionaries always been flourished. We never basically imposed any sort of ban on any minority for that
Prime Minister
matter.
Nawaz Sharif was himself,
He
he
attended.
participated in Holi, he was
Yes.
with the Hindu community, and Pakistan.
Also, most of the English
Christians.
medium schools are being run by
He himself studied in these schools.
yes, but by the missionaries. So my point is that it is actually India is establishing a very dangerous precedent in terms of how India as a nuclear power would like to be looked by the other powers, by which they are trying to get, as I think they were referring to NSG membership, which we are very much sure that they won't get it.
Mr. Kiani, Europe is a big proponent of human rights violations in India. Do you think that Europe or US would revise their policy towards India if they want to support a country which is violating basic human rights, where Hindutva mindset people are killing innocent Muslims, Sikhs and Christians? Do you think that still Europe or US or other big countries would continue their support for India? And would this help India in getting the international support?
You see, I've said it on this forum many times. It is most unfortunate. Since the indigenous uprising in Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir, in July last year, barring aside few times when the Western, electronic and print media, talked about the atrocity which is killed. I've always said, when you kill people, you become sad. But look at those who were maimed for life, injured,
Blinded.
young people, blinded. Now, how can the Western countries, which talk a lot about human rights, where are they now? So this is most unfortunate. They have become quiet for some reason.
And can they continue to turn their blind eye on the violations?
The thing is, we have done what we could. I have said, I think that a time has come, I've said it on this forum again, that there's a bipartisan committee of the parliament, along with prominent Kashmiris, should visit, important Western capitals, especially, countries where the human rights is very important, like New Zealand and Canada and Australia, and the European Union, few countries, where you should be able to just focus on one thing, because people are not listening to the plebiscite or the referendum. They don't talk about it. This issue of the human rights, the issue of the maiming and killing of the innocent Kashmiris, I think need to focus on them. Let me just finish. And you need to drum on them. You see institutional discussion, like the parliament talking to their counterparts, parliamentarians, talking to the press people and the human rights civil organizations, telling them what is this happening.
Kashmir, in UP, in Rajasthan, in Delhi,
Yeah.
in
So,
Mumbai
and
for
yeah,
that
and
matter.
then
There are many Muslims
you
in
see,
Mumbai.
Because the West became quiet, this is the reason that you look at what is happening, the intolerance of killing people just for eating beef. Now this is something, you see, I can understand India's, the Hindus, attachment to Mata, but you just cannot kill people just
But
because
there are
they...
many other seculars
Yeah.
and liberals
Yeah.
and many other Hindus who don't support BJP, Mr. Janat. Say they don't support BJP. They are concerned about India's foreign policy. They're concerned about the way India now is projecting its image. What do you say about that? And how do you think that now many Indians who think that India should extend its hand for friendship with Pakistan What do you think about that? Do you think that India would come on table and we'll have peace in the region ultimately, or do you think that India would still continue, BJP government would continue its stance?
Well, I think BJP will continue with its policies. They will try to browbeat Pakistan. I don't see them seeing through. I mean, their Pakistan policy is a mess, though they have not achieved the objective they set in to isolate Pakistan. But they would continue to be bullying, Pakistan. This is the only country that has challenged its ambition in South Asia, that has challenged its ambitions in Western Asia. So this is, a problem, despite the fact that Pakistan has a bipartisan view that we need to have a trade, regional trade, connectivity, infrastructure development, and we want to see, the Asian century unfolding in South Asia as well, and the other countries as well. But the main stumbling block is India's this attitude not to resolve the main conflicts. So any resolution which is not unravel, simply, you cannot move on from. So that is, the legacy we are being bound. Yes, there is a constituency in India, starting from Congress and Aam Aadmi Party and the rest of the think tanks, but we simply cannot expect them to be turning around India's foreign policy in a very medium term, because if the UP election show us something, this guy could be the next prime minister of India, probably after Modi. So we would see the extremism pervading, continue to pervade pervasively, not only in society level but also in policy making level, including their foreign policy elites and blocs.
And this recent initiative taken by US diplomats, how do you see that? Do you think that this is an alarming situation for the US as well and other countries about the rising extremism in India? And do you think that this is a message by US or other countries for India that they don't agree with India's policy, domestic and foreign policy?
Well, I think Trump administration still need to to sort out its South Asia policy. It has sent some sound bites. Its ambassador in the UN suggested that she can play a role in calming things down between Pakistan and India, short of saying that a mediation, any suggestion of mediation coming from anybody other than any suggestion coming from anybody, would be shot down by India. They simply don't want that. That's why they agreed to have some sort of talk on water, issue with Pakistan. However, we need to be realistic. Now you have the new administration coming in. They have got a very extremist, hawkish lady, this Lisa Curtis, leading the South Asian desk. So I don't expect that she would be kind of looking after, in a very balanced way, the relation between India and Pakistan. She's the very much part of the clique, i.e. what I call it, the Bruce Rydals and the Akanis of the world, in Washington, the newcons basically. And what we see in Syria is also not encouraging. So I think we should not expect much from the unfolding events. That's very much my personal opinion. But we should continue with our national resolve that we want to have a resolution of all issues with India. But in a very honorable and dignified manner, we would continue to reflect our all elements of our national power in our foreign policy, and backed by strong economic revival and ending terrorism within and also outside.
Right. We'll continue our discussion on Pakistan's resolve for peace in the region. Pakistan is striving for peace in Afghanistan as well. Regional countries like China, Pakistan, Russia are now discussing peace in Afghanistan, and also Pakistan wants, and many other countries in the region want India to reciprocate that action, that India also has to show its resolve for peace and stability in the region. But do we see that happening in near future, let's say? We are keeping in mind the Indian domestic politics and also Indian foreign policy. India is not also having any amicable relations with China either. India's relations with Afghanistan are gradually also getting questioned. We'll continue our discussion on this, on Pakistan-India relations, Pakistan resolve for peace in the region. After this break, stay with us.
We invited the head of the British Council, Rosemary Hillhurst.
The first office was actually set up in Karachi in early 1948.
How you internationalize higher education through the British Council.
Universities these days are big institutions and big businesses. A country like Pakistan, we've got some great entrepreneurs here.
The digital world, does it really work in all areas of the country?
The government here is keen to try and provide connectivity across the country.
Education and culture is a very important aspect that bridges to countries.
You've got a potentially great film industry here.
What does the future hold for Pakistan and the British Council?
I think education certainly is where we can help enormously.
We can only hope that the best is yet to come.
Welcome back. We are discussing Pakistan and India relations, Pakistan's resolve for peace and stability in the region. Pakistan has been fighting, as I earlier said, most notorious terrorist groups. We see North Waziristan, South Waziristan, as I always say, Swat, Karachi for that matter, are much peaceful places now. And Pakistan is fighting an unconventional war, and Pakistan has single-handedly dealt with all these terrorist groups and individuals. Pakistan also wants peace in Afghanistan, and Pakistan wants to facilitate the peace in Afghanistan, the peace talks in Afghanistan. And that is the only reason that Mr. Sartaj Aziz, Pakistan Prime Minister's advisor on foreign affairs, went to India in Amritsar to attend the Heart of Asia conference, which is an initiative taken by the international community to discuss peace in Afghanistan. There, India and Afghanistan criticize Pakistan. And interestingly, whenever Pakistan comes up with the Kashmir cause, with the issues in Kashmir, India continues its mantra of terrorism. We are going to discuss about this. Rana sir, whenever we discuss Kashmir, whenever we discuss peace in the region, India continues its mantra of terrorism. They equate terrorism with Kashmir. They equate terrorism with peace. This is something alarming for Pakistan and many other countries. India isn't moving forward. Pakistan wants to move forward for its own benefit. We have a mega economic activity. We are looking forward for peace and stability. Pakistan, China, Russia, Afghanistan, Iran are now looking for the next level talks, next level friendship levels. We don't see India coming on that side. How do you see that India is reacting to the whole changing situation for India itself in the region?
Well, Shamil, it's very clear that India's claims are invalid in regarding Kashmir indigenous freedom movement. The reason being is that it's India which is perpetrating state-sponsored terrorism. It's India which has more than 700,000 troops there. Every third Kashmiri is facing one Indian soldier. And then it's India which actually has brought the most modern weaponry against the unarmed civilians, innocent women, children and elderly and youth, killing sportsmen, for example.
And Indian politicians are on record saying that they would give more money to the terrorists, to act against Pakistan. And they would support terrorists that act against Pakistan.
That is what I'm saying. The assembly line, which Doval and before that has started developing, that India has now managed to buy, it's the fourth trip which Ajit Doval did to Syria, and also to Iraq, and they managed to bought most of the entities of Daesh, and they're transporting them into Afghanistan. And then on the this is absolutely, I mean, you can check with all the open sources. And then there is a most interesting thing, which is we should be worrisome, that we must, whereas India links a freedom movement with those unarmed civilians, those schoolboys, the children, the elderly, the stone throwers, we call them, because when you are bringing armored cars, your tanks and your pellet guns, and these children and these elderly people, they cannot defend themselves. Had there been an equal, I would say, the equal match of, it's a real time. Look at the fast rebel, for example, Basque rebels, IRA. When they were conducting their operations, they were supplied with the most modern weapons as well by the Western powers. In the case of Kashmir, only thing the Pakistan is arguing that we want, and also the OIC, that we just want to the United Nations to hold a plebiscite on the right of self-determination. Well, this is not much asking. So the idea should be to look India as perpetrating state-sponsored terrorism. Yes, the Kashmir is linked
there's
with the
what-
terrorism, but with the Indian state terrorism.
And this is the
That
point.
is what the point is.
Ambassador Saab, whenever Pakistan talks about Kashmir, whenever Pakistan wants to talk about Kashmir with India, they don't want to discuss about that. They don't even consider Kashmiris as a third party to the whole issue and situation. When Mr. Sartajiz went to Delhi, he wanted to meet the Hurriyat leaders. The Hurriyat leaders were not allowed to meet Sartajiz Saab because they think that the Kashmiris are not a party to this issue of Kashmir. But at the same time, what we see afterwards is Uri attack, Pathankot attack, and still Pakistan keeps on asking for the evidence of any Pakistan's involvement in these attacks. We don't hear anything positive from India. We just hear the blame game. We don't see any evidence on that side. And then comes the surgical strikes trauma, which also embarrassed many Indian soldiers as well, Indian army as well. How do you think that terrorism, they're going to equate it with the peace in Kashmir and also Pakistan's resolve for peace in Afghanistan?
Let me just put on record. I think all sane elements in India, including very senior political leaders of the Congress party and other parties, have said it very clearly, just very recently, that the Indian government the way it's dealing with the issue of Kashmir, especially the Indian occupied Kashmir, is totally counterproductive. They said, the Congress leader said, we had dealt it in a better manner. Dr. Farooq Abdullah, just a few days back, I saw his press conference. He said very clearly that this is not the way. If you want to kill all the Muslims in Indian occupied Kashmir, then it will resolve the issue.
And you can't ignore
Absolutely. He
this
said you
big
cannot,
population.
yes, you cannot ignore. And the indigenous uprising and the anger which is within the Indian occupied Kashmir, it is a manifestation of what the BJP government has been doing or the earlier governments have been doing. Let us put it on record.
And these incidents like Pathankot and Uri, whenever we want to talk about peace, looking at the timing is very interesting. How do you see this?
You see, when these two incidents, serious incidents took place, the government of Pakistan is on record. I must commend the government for having stated that we are open to discussion. We want to find out. We want to cooperate with us. We cooperate. And it was welcomed by the Western countries that when we said, okay, we are not a party to what they have done. There are areas, porous borders where people might have gone out and attacked you. And we would like to, cooperate with you. But the thing is, I was just listening to Mr. Sartaj Aziz talking to Deutsche TV just yesterday on record, and he said that we were ready and talk, and we are ready to to discuss, but they have not been able to bring the proof. So this is on record what we are trying to do. We want to bring peace. You had just mentioned one thing, that Pakistan wants to peace. What Pakistan wants to do is regional peace. We would like, that there is a reason. These two countries, India, Pakistan, unfortunately, in spite of all the, when we talk about economic success on both the sides, these are countries which are facing serious issues of poverty and hunger and disease. Both the countries need to sit down together and talk about these issues which touch the common man. What about food security? But we don't want to talk, and what the Indians want to do is, keep on killing. Talking about Afghanistan, I have said it and I want to say to you again, sir. We have done an excellent thing by, visibly improving our relation with Russia. Russia is a very important country in the region, and we want to resolve the issue of Afghanistan.
And Mr. Sartaji also had meetings with the Afghan diplomats and officials in London.
But let me just say one thing more, sir. Meaning, I have said to you, sir, that it's my desire, or the hope of everybody, or the understanding, India, believe it or not, by any stretch of imagination, has nothing to do with Afghanistan. If it's an important commercial partner or an economic partner, it's a different issue. But India does not have anything to do with the resolving what is happening in Afghanistan. But this was my desire. But that doesn't happen. The United States especially consider Afghanistan, India as a partner to resolve the issue. But believe it or not, it will not happen. Without Pakistan's participation, understanding and cooperation, issue of Afghanistan will not be resolved. And we are committed to supporting, a politically stable and economically viable Afghanistan.
Rana sir, there is a mixed opinion. Majority of Pakistanis, I would say perhaps 90%, they support Pakistan's foreign policy. Certainly, they support that Pakistan needs to have better relations with India for our own benefit, better relations with Afghanistan for our own benefit. But at the same time, they think that Pakistan's stance on India is docile. We need to have a strong stance on India, on Kashmir, and we need to assert what our points are on Kashmir. We shouldn't be asking for talks every time. Also, recently Pakistan has said, the Foreign Office has said that we are ready for talks. Pakistan's readiness for talks is encouraging, do you think, that we should go for talks and keep telling the international community that this is what India is doing, that every time they rebuff the whole idea of peace and stability?
Well, that's actually a peaceful country does. Pakistan, as a responsible nation and pragmatic, with the pragmatic approach, actually time and again floated different kind of forums at the sidelines, tried to communicate to Indians that we are ready to resolve all issues, whether it's Sar Creek, Siachen, and other bilateral issues, but also including the most important issue of Jammu and Kashmir. So this Pakistan, this diplomatic posting basically is the most positive one. But the response is so consistent and negative from India that sometimes it does infringe on Pakistan's diaspora and intellectual academics, policymakers and military personnel to understand what the hell is going on with India, what India exactly sends to achieve. My assessment is that India just wants to manipulate Pakistan's progress by intervening and directly mounting illegal intelligence operation in our country, and also imposing hybrid warfare by intervening in Afghanistan and protecting training to TTP, BLAs, and now they are bringing Uzbeks, and also, most importantly, as I said, the Daesh entities.
But do you think that they can continue this doctrine? Well, because these regional situations, security situation is also changing.
Well, this should be must be taught by the US and the NATO allied member states, that this would again come back to them. It will go and haunt the US forces. Most of the US soldiers killed during past all these months, there were hallmarks also, and the other forces, hallmarks, kidnapping issues, hallmark of the Daesh and others, but that is exactly the entities which India owns it. So it is for the NATO and the US to decide whether they want to side with a country which is producing terrorists, or with a country like Pakistan, which has laid down thousands of lives to prevent terrorism. So it is a choice of the United States. We must continue to highlight that what we have achieved by paying a very precious cost, the most important cost with human lives, and more than $120 billion loss in foreign investment and infrastructure destruction.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Mr. Rana, Javed, pleasure having you on the program. And Mr. Shahid, Kiani, thank you for being with us. Today we discussed about Pakistan-India relations, and I earlier said that domestic politics certainly has an effect on a country's foreign policy. What is going on inside India is alarming, not just for many secular Indians, for the minorities in India, but also for Pakistan and the international community. Pakistan stands for peace in the region. Pakistan is striving for peace and stability in Afghanistan as well, and Pakistan wants to have friendly relations with the neighbors. But recently we saw that India has denied any attempt for improving any relations with Pakistan or other countries for that matter, like China. Pakistan stands for peace, and Pakistan also knows how to defend itself against any foreign aggression. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Goodbye.
Ayubia National Park is located in the lush hills of the Galiat forests that stretch from near Islamabad to Abbottabad and through to Azad Kashmir. With its deep valleys, evergreen forests and clear mountain springs, it is one of the most beautiful hill stations in Pakistan, as well as an important site for biodiversity. More than 50,000 people live in the areas surrounding the national park, and visitors account for another 650,000 each year. For the most part, the local population is extremely
हुकूमत के हवाले से और वहाँ की जो पुलिस है उसके हवाले से आपने कहा कि बिल्कुल इस चीज़ को तो आपने जनरल साहब ने जो ये नुक्ता रेज़ किया कि पॉलिटिसाइज नहीं होनी चाहिए, कोई पॉलिटिकली नहीं लगनी चाहिए कहीं पे पुलिस की, जो भी आप उनको जहाँ भी लगाते हैं, ठीक है, ये बात नहीं होनी चाहिए, सब यही कहते हैं कि नहीं होनी चाहिए और इससे खराबियाँ पैदा होती हैं। लाहौर को आपने कहा कि जी सेफ सिटी प्रोजेक्ट की वजह से और जो कैमरास लगाए गए और जिस तरीके से वहाँ का एनवायरनमेंट था उसकी वजह से ये सहूलतकार जो है वो पकड़ा गया। तो एक तनकीद बड़ी होती है पंजाब के ऊपर कि जी आपके जो जनूबी पंजाब की अगर हम बात करें कि वहाँ पे जो है दहशतगर्दों के महफूज ठिकाने हैं, तो क्या ये सेफ सिटी प्रोजेक्ट अगर बेहतर है तो इसका दायरा कार आप वसी करेंगे पंजाब के दूसरे इलाकों की तरफ भी?
जी बिल्कुल, ये कॉम्पिटिशन है और ये है, और जितनी भी हमारी मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटीज का है उन सारे शहरों के अंदर इसको लगाया जाना है, और ये 2 से 4 माह इन सब के ऊपर होना पर भी आएगा कि काम हो रहा है। ये सेफ सिटी प्रोजेक्ट जो है ये 2018 के अवाइल 6 बड़े शहरों की तनसीबात हो जाएंगी। बड़ा पर्टिनेंट पॉइंट सस्पेक्ट आइडेंटिफिकेशन में ये बड़ा रोल प्ले किया, लेकिन आपको पंजाब मैयस के एतबार से आप पहले
आपकी आवाज ब्रेक हो रही है, शायद मेरे ख्याल से आपके सिग्नल्स जो हैं वो क्लियर नहीं है, आपकी आवाज हम बेहतर तरीके से सुन नहीं पा रहे। अगर आप थोड़े से अपने पोजीशन चेंज करें तो हम आपको बेहतर तरीके से सुन सकेंगे।
अच्छा, मेरे ख्याल में आपकी आवाज ज्यादा रिबाउंड हो रही है मेरे, जिस वजह से तो आपके
जी प्लीज।
हेलो
जी जी जी
जी, आप मुझे भी सुन पा रही हैं?
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल ठीक है जी, बात कीजिए जी।
अच्छा देखिए, सिटी के हवाले से आपने बड़ी पर्टिनेंट बात की है, और ये सिटी ने बड़ा हेल्पफुल हुआ इस ब्लास्ट के बाद। जो सस्पेक्ट आइडेंटिफिकेशन की उसमें इससे बड़ी लीड मिली और उस सहूलतकार को पकड़ने में बड़ी आसानी पैदा हुई। और इससे पहले ही, लेकिन ये जो अभी इस ब्लास्ट से पहले ये 2000
working together in various fields including education, health, economy and agriculture. He emphasized that the world of Pakistan's highly positive emerging scenario in the fields of security and economy. He said that the time had come for the US investors and businessmen to come forward and take advantage of the countless investment opportunities existing in Pakistan. And the second Pakistan Army Team Spirit competition concluded at the National Counterterrorism Center near Jhelum. A total of 10 foreign military teams, including China, Indonesia, Jordan, Malaysia, Maldives, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Thailand and the UK, along with 8 Pakistani Army teams, enthusiastically participated in the toughest military competition held from the 1st of April till the 5th. The teams of the 1st Corps, 30 Corps and China won the gold medals, whereas the Southern Command, 4 Corps, 10 Corps, Sri Lanka, Turkey and UK clinched the silver medals. The bronze medal was won by 5 Corps, 31 Corps, 2 Corps and Malaysia. Lieutenant General Ikramul Haq, Corps Commander Gujranwala, was the chief guest on the occasion. While congratulating the winners, the Lieutenant General applauded the professionalism, dedication and skill of the participating teams. He said that the participation of the teams from the friendly countries was an opportunity for all participants to learn from one another's professional experience in the domain of counter-terrorism. He also thanked all foreign military teams for participating and showing confidence in Pakistan, which was highly appreciable.
Now, a Muslim man died after he was attacked by hundreds of Hindu vigilantes while transporting cows in India amid rising tensions over the slaughter of the sacred animal. Pehlu Khan, 55,